Hello, this is the Yamaha U3H, made in 1972, 131 centimetres tall. We sell a lot of these pianos and we're really pleased with them, but we just want to try and refine this one a little bit more, and we find that the main refinement to do is often on the key weighting. That's the weight it takes to push the key down. The piano's already been very well refined before it arrived, but we just check all the regulation before doing key weighting. Using this action model, I've recently tried to explain some of the main regulation things that we check. So on a Yamaha, the key dip, that's the distance the key goes down, should be 10.5 thereabouts. And we want to check that the capstan is adjusted so there's no movement here at the top of the jack. So that is fine. That's another one that we check, the let off here. So I've explained these in a previous video. If you're interested, please do find that one. So here's a check sheet for that Yamaha, the key dip, the hammer blow. If you're interested in having one of these, I'll put a link to it underneath the video. That link may need updating later on, so I'll try and remember to do that. But just basically checking all the measurements, the half blow, the Celeste. I've mentioned most of these regulation things in other videos. I just want to focus on the key weighting and to show you what method we use to reduce the key weighting or make it heavier if necessary. First of all, we want to lubricate the balance rail before we do any of that. So as on a new piano, when you lift the key up, it should fall straight down. These are the naturals, and that one isn't falling down. So we just want to lubricate those. They're not terribly bad. Sometimes they're really stiff, especially on pianos that have not been regulated for a long time. We check that this hole is not binding on the pin. By the way, that hole should never be elongated and shouldn't be made bigger, really. We put talc lubricant on to make that come up and down smoothly. We have other videos showing that. I want to focus on two keys that don't need so much lubricant. That one's almost falling down on its own, and this one here, and you can see that is falling down. So that one doesn't really need lubricating. Now, looking at the key weighting, first of all we want to do the up weight, because we don't want the up weight to be any lower than 24. So the 24, we're not going to alter that, even though 50 is what we're aiming for, perhaps 52 for down the bottom there. So that's pretty much fine anyway, but there's an up weight of 34 here, which means we can alter the down weight. That 58 could go down to 50, 52. The up weight is the maximum weight placed on the key, and it will still rise. We need to just encourage it by hitting underneath the keyboard here, and it rises up. Now, it's got to be measured with your foot on the sustain pedal so that the dampers are taken off. That's really important, otherwise you get a wrong reading. So if we take my foot off the sustain pedal, then it goes straight up. So it's when the sustain pedal's down, because that's when you find you get sticky notes sometimes, because the sustain pedal is pressed down, and that's when it's most likely to stick. So it's really important that. Now the down weight is the minimum weight placed on top of the key, and it will still go down. So again, a bit of encouragement from underneath, and it goes down at 58 grams. Now that's a bit on the high side. We want to bring it down to 52. Now the traditional way of adding weights to keys is to put another weight here. This is a lead weight, so another one here may bring it down to 52, and that will be fine. But you need a pillar drill. If you try and work on the keys without that, you're in danger of breaking the key. So you may not have a workshop handy, and if you're a tuner out on the road, we're going to show you a method that we've tried out during COVID that works perfectly well, and is also reversible, whereas if you put a weight through here, it's really difficult to take it out again if you want to change the weight. So measuring at 58 grams again with my foot on the pedal, and it goes down. So we're going to put some weights here, and these weights here are used for motorcycle balancing. We discovered them, as I say, during COVID. There was thicker ones that wouldn't fit very well on the keys. We managed to find these thinner ones, and we're trying to find out if they're still available. We have quite a lot in stock, but for the purpose of the video we want to make sure they are still available, and we'll put a link underneath this for you. So that one there can go here, so it's difficult to do this with the video. So there we are. If I put a weight on here, it's obviously going to go down with just 58 grams, so I'm going to take some off. That's 54 grams now, and it's just about going down. We want to reduce this even further, so let's reduce it to 52 grams. And now one weight at the back here isn't sufficient, so I'm just going to add another weight on top of it. There we are, and that's it. So it's going down nicely, perhaps even more so. Maybe we can put these alongside each other. You have to obviously decide and get with plus or minus 2 grams is what we usually manage to achieve. These weights have got sticky backs on them which you can just peel off. The main problem we found is the width of them. Then obviously if you're not careful they'll touch the key next to it. So these are 11.5 up to about 12 millimeters. We find just about works. We did have slightly wider ones and really that was causing a problem. So that's so important, and ideally we'd like to see these made for the piano trade, but obviously that's unless you're listening to this video and we're willing to do that, that would be wonderful. So I've just made a little mark with this pencil here to make sure we don't interfere with this felt. I've placed two weights alongside each other here and making sure they don't stick out. That's the most important thing really we found. They mustn't obviously touch the adjacent key. You have to be extremely careful with that. But we haven't had any problems if we do that carefully, and you can actually put them on top of each other if you want to. That's certainly fine. They're not likely to come unstuck. If they're normally on a motorcycle wheel and they don't come unstuck from that, then they're very unlikely to come unstuck from a piano key. So with those two weights stuck underneath the key and putting 52 grams weight on top, then if I just encourage it by hitting underneath the keyboard, overcoming the inertia, we can see it goes down. So that's 52 grams. I've also re-weighted this other sharp, which has come out at 51 grams. So that's a U3H, 131 centimeters tall, made in 1972. We sold a great number of similar pianos, and we always like to try to refine them as much as we can. So I've showed you today about key weighting and what we do to re-weight the keys to make them as even as possible, like a new piano. A new piano would be plus or minus 2 grams of 52 grams, or in the case of Kauai, a bit heavier, 55 grams I think they choose. So we would choose normally 50, 52, unless you want a lightweight, in which case we would choose that. But bear in mind that the down weight, the up weight needs to be high enough so that the key will return nicely. If the up weight is lower than 25, then we won't normally do any down weight decreasing, because that will decrease the up weight. I hope that's understandable, and thank you very much for listening, and please do comment. We'd love to learn from other technicians. Maybe you've got another way of evening out the key weights, and certainly lubricating the balance rail first is really important, and regulating the piano obviously. And once those things are done, then we finally do the key weighting. It's a very warm tone, this piano. I'm really pleased with it.